All right. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. I got a guitar in the background today. Whatever. Being fancy. I'm one of those fancy people. And good news. We've got a big show for everybody today. We're going to talk about Canadian snipers. We're going to also talk about Ukraine. We're going to talk about Donald Trump, Taylor Swift. But I am doing this podcast today, Lachlan, at the tender age of 50. 50 years old. That's how old I am. 50, right?
Hold on. Did you just...
50. 50 in February.
Is it your... February. I was going to say, yeah, your birthday's in the winter.
Yeah. With a zit.
Oh, yeah.
A adult acne zit. I have a zit at the age of 50, and I looked in the mirror today, and this thing was a fucking heater, and I thought to myself, at what point do we stop getting these fucking things? Like, is it...
Well,
not 30,
I think
not 40, not 50, apparently, but it would be nice if I stopped getting zits at the age of 50. That'd be...
You're going to start getting boils. That's next. Oils are awesome. No, you have a 10-year-old palate. You eat like a grade 3-er.
You're not from food.
Did you honestly, it is. It's the way you eat. Your mom cut the crusts off for you, didn't she?
No, she never did. She never did. I always asked her to cut the crust off my sandwiches. She never fucking cut the crust off my sandwiches. No, I got this zit at the age of 50. I never got zits when I was younger. It's nothing to do with what I'm eating. It has everything to do with the fact that I maybe sweat a lot. I don't know. I sweat a lot this weekend, walking around and hanging out and doing all the shit you do in the city.
It's clogged.
What's that?
Can be clogged pores.
Yeah, but it's not from food, and it's definitely not from masturbating. I can tell you that.
Diet can play a part in acne for sure. I think.
What are you talking about? That's like an old wives' tale. Diet doesn't play a part in acne.
Yeah, you keep forgetting I'm a doctor. No, you can get acne from I believe that my overconsumption of whole milk as a teenager, from the time I was about 12 to about 18, I OD'd on milk. I would drink buckets of it. We'd get these 4-gallon buckets, and my mother was like, I couldn't keep a lot of milk in the damn house. Dude, you know what's funny is that as you're saying this, I'm discounting everything you're saying because it's just standard at this point that every time you say, oh, I heard milk gives you acne, I Google, can a bad diet give you acne? While we're on the call, while we're doing this. In addition, a diet can affect hormones that in turn make your acne worse. For example, milk and foods. Yes.
With high sugar content can cause a rise in insulin levels along with other hormones that affect the skin. Some research
as soon as
protein to acne. Look at this. Look at that.
Yeah. I OD'd on milk when I was young, and I weaned myself off of it. I now have cream in my coffee, and I have the odd yogurt once in a blue moon. Once in a blue moon, I'll have ice cream, and I don't get I'm not lactose, but if I drink, I'll tell you what. And I try to drink I try to drink as much. If I'm drinking anything like milk related, any kind of products like that, I try to drink whole milk, cream. If I drink 1% or 2%, it tears the shit out of my stomach. I cannot drink it. I don't know what it is. Skim milk.
That's because you went off it for a long time. That's why.
Poison.
Yeah.
But I can drink cream. I put cream in my cereal. I take cream and that's what I put on my cereal. If I have Cheerios, I put cream in there.
How do you say cereal again? Say it again.
You're not going to fix it. I've been doing this my whole life. Okay. You're like the 700th person that's tried to get me to say cereal properly. It's not going to happen.
Cereal.
Stop it.
It's cute.
It's
I like how you say it. Very, very cute.
You knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, I know you were talking about cereal, but I've never heard anybody put like milk or cream in their cereal.
I've
heard of that before.
Yeah.
Someone just asked in the comment section real quick if there was any locker room today. Apparently they missed you on the radio. Didn't see you.
No.
And you on the radio.
A lot of people tune in to the podcast, so there wasn't a podcast released.
Oh, okay.
So YS, no, we did not have a locker room today. We had the Monday off because of the Truth and Reconciliation.
Was that a holiday in Alberta? Should be.
It's a federal thing, I think.
Yeah. It was a holiday for everybody, but nobody, which was weird because there was these big rallies yesterday. It was Federal Truth and Reconciliation Day. It's where we apologize to the Indigenous people who truly own this land for committing genocide against almost all of them, and giving them smallpox blankets and sending Indigenous people, women, children to residential schools, basically trying to wipe out a race, right? So it's a nice day to give them. And it was really well attended in Western provinces. I noticed there wasn't a lot of like attendance in the Truth and Reconciliation stuff, but in the Western parts of the country, there was like massive rallies.
You're supposed to wear orange,
lots of love. Yeah.
Yeah, supposed to wear orange, and it was Saturday. Some people got the Friday off. We got the Monday off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think our company chooses to honor the day with a day off, because they and we also run vignettes all day. On the Saturday, we had moments of remembrance and things like that on the show 95.7 Cruise FM. And then the other thing too is, right, if you don't get Remembrance Day off or you don't get those days off, you end up banking them and then having to take them later. So I don't mind a 3-day weekend. You know what, quite enjoy the 3-day work week. Or
I don't think you have to feel bad about having a 3-day weekend, because one of the days in your 3-day weekend is a day to remember and reflect about how we've treated the Indigenous people in this country. I think that was the whole point of it, and I don't think you have to feel bad about going, I'd like to not having a bad day off, because that is a day for everybody to remember what the day was all about, right? But it's weird how it wasn't a federal holiday in a lot of cases. It was a holiday for a lot of people.
If you worked
for all that day, right?
If you work for a federal institution, I think you got the day off.
Yeah.
Right. And radio is regulated federally. So I think we answer to the CRTC. So I think that's why we got on top of the fact that I think it's fair that we should take that day. I did see something very entertaining today, and it involved an Indigenous person. And I don't know why it struck me so funny, but I went to yoga just before the class, and I was walking. I had to park a bit of a way. So
namaste, by the way, namaste.
Namaste. Yeah. So I had to walk a bit to get from my car to the studio that I go to on 124th. And a native guy was approaching me, and he was smoking a joint, but it was the sweatshirt he had on. And I don't know why it was so funny to me. It wasn't the fact that he was smoking a joint. Lots of people do that. They'll walk down the streets and burn one off. Good for you. That's your prerogative. He was wearing a NASA sweatshirt. And it just struck me funny. I kind of gave the guy a little smile and a nod, and he kind of nodded back at me. But I mean, if you're going to smoke a joint
for NASA, is that why you thought it was funny?
Just he's smoking a joint and he's
the shirt with some homeless dude walking down the street smoking.
No, he wasn't homeless.
How much time did you spend at NASA? Chances are the guy was like a fucking genius too. He's one of those dudes that, like, if you stopped and talked to him, he could tell you the day, the hour, the minute that this happened in history and that happened in history. And if I live to 174, what day will the day of the week? Like one of those guys, one of those like nearly, and I mean no disrespect to autistic people, because we're piling a lot of marginalized groups into this story. Right?
Well, we're really speculating.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Totally.
I mean, listen, stereotypes exist for a reason. I just found it very humorous that an Indigenous man was wearing a NASA sweatshirt.
Why?
And smoking a joint. I don't know why it was so funny to me.
That's because you're an asshole.
He's going to space, right? Like maybe that's it.
Maybe he's going outer space. Maybe he's excited to.
It's just you don't see a lot of NASA sweatshirts.
You know what? It's funny because I love those. You don't see a lot of NASA sweatshirts unless someone's worked at NASA, unless someone has a serious desire to like go to outer space. It's like I don't know anybody that's like, fuck, I would just love a NASA shirt. I'm a big fan of like NASA.
I also find it very entertaining, and I don't want to downplay this, but when I see stoners, like a guy that's clearly a daily user of the old pot, and he's wearing his Dare shirt from high school, and it's a little too tight.
Say no to drugs shirt.
I don't know why that's so funny.
Well, it's the irony of it. It's like
you see these guys in their 30s.
It's like seeing a big girl in a shirt that says "I beat anorexia." It's like that's fucking funny every time, right? Like you're never not gonna laugh at that shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of skinny girls, I want to talk about my NFL Sunday real quick because it was filled with Taylor Swift again.
Yeah, they're spending too much time on Taylor Swift during these games.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I understand she's a big star, but it's getting annoying, right?
I'm annoyed by her.
Yeah, I am too. Like I am not. I don't get it. I don't like her.
I be annoyed by her because I actually don't mind her music. She's definitely not hard to look at. She's
catchy.
One of the richest women on the planet. Every single song is this fucking earworm and stuff like that. But the second she was inserted into my NFL Sunday, I was like, I don't know if I like her anymore. And I tried to ride the wave. Like I really tried to ride the wave the first time she showed up to a game. It was like a couple weeks ago, and they're like, "Oh, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are kind of dating." We'll see what happens. Travis Kelce, of course, tight end, Super Bowl winning, super stud tight end, good looking dude, totally the kind of guy who would date Taylor Swift. If you looked at Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, you're like, yeah, I get how.
Well, she tends to go through
Well, and that's
a little like
I don't
new underwear.
For people like me who like his NFL Sunday, like I watched the Bills were out the Fins this weekend, 48-20. That was a lot of fun. Josh Allen had a record-setting day. Really enjoyed that. Really like NFL Red Zone, getting into the games and Red Zone scoring. It's like a channel you can get Red Zone, NFL Red Zone, where you only show anything that happens inside the red zone. So you're probably going to see a touchdown or an incredible defensive play to stop a touchdown, which is like I like that action, right? I enjoy that. Every single channel that I watch when it comes to NFL football has now become a Taylor Swift watch party. Every single channel, every news highlight package is Taylor Swift. And I take nothing away from Taylor Swift, and I'm verklempt because of it, because I'm starting to resent Taylor Swift and what she has done to NFL Sunday for me, because it's all Chiefs highlights. Like you didn't know it was all going to be Chiefs highlights the whole time, right? And there's a stat on TV the other day, like a 4-hour game, you see like 32 minutes of actual football, if that, like, because the plays are so fast and there's a bunch of shit going around. One Sunday, and I think it was the Sunday before the last, with the first Taylor Swift actual, when she showed up to Arrowhead and she was at the game. She was at the Jets game on the weekend again. It was fucking mayhem. She brought Blake Lively with her. Like that wouldn't be a road show as well. Blake Lively and her showing up.
I find
behind the scenes. Yeah, she's not bad.
Way more attractive than Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I mean, two smoke show, wealthy, super mega celebrities. One's married to Ryan Reynolds. The other one's the biggest pop star in the world. And you're like, what about the football? Like, I don't need to see them walking into the stadium. That was let's watch Taylor Swift walk into the stadium. Let's watch Taylor Swift walk past craft services. Let's watch Taylor Swift get in an elevator. Let's look at Taylor Swift in a luxury box, where none of us will ever sit in a luxury box ever in the history of our lives at an NFL game, because it's so much fun. Let's watch her put her arm around her mom. And then it dawned on me, because I was thinking, is this going to be my fucking NFL experience until Travis Kelce retires? The answer is no. She's had 17 boyfriends in the last 18 years.
He's 18.
This is 18. This guy is 18.
Once a year.
That was the dude. That was the solace I took from NFL Sunday, is I went and did a little Google research on how many boyfriends she's had. I'm like, this is going to end soon. So it definitely will end soon, I hope.
I'll help you out. The average length of time is 3 months and a handful of days that she's with these men. So she burns through them pretty quickly. And I tried to get, and Grant wouldn't bite. And we talked about this on Friday. We touched on it briefly. Jimmy wouldn't go anywhere near it with a 10-foot pole. I'm like, all right, let's have the conversation. What's going on here? Is she picking horrible men? Or is there something wrong with Taylor? And listen, I have no respect for what she does musically.
You're like the only person in the world.
No. Listen to me. I don't care for pop music.
Well, that's different. You have a bias against her music.
Personally,
musically, you have to respect what she's done.
I totally understand that she writes catchy songs and you can sing along to them. And I'm sure she's a talented person. And we've already established she's quite pretty. She's got a great personality from what I've heard. I've talked to people that and I have had weird conversations with people, to the point where it's almost, I almost question bringing it up now, regardless of what surroundings I'm in, because the oddest person, the guy that biked there on a Harley Davidson at a party, wearing a patch jacket, a member of some club, looks like he may have killed somebody in the 80s.
Got the eye.
Will sit there.
Teardrop. He's got the teardrop that says,
and will defend Taylor Swift to the death
because
and treat you like
he's dude. That's why. Travis Kelce's ex-girlfriend, like all of them, are all getting death threats from Swifties today, right? Blake Lively, dude, other players on the Kansas City Chiefs are getting inundated and like peppered with DMs from people saying, "You suck. I never watched the game, but stay off my screen when Taylor's on." Swifties are insane. They're legitimately insane. It's like the only people you don't want to piss off are Swifties. I will take my chances against Russian bots. I'll take my chances against Chinese bots. I'll go head to head with anybody's bot. I do not want to have anything to do with Taylor Swift fans. And you're right. Like, her fandom surpasses all generations, any demographic. You could have a biker, you could have, it doesn't matter who it is. Like, dude, Taylor Swift is just, but it was comforting to me knowing that the most important person, she's the most important celebrity in the world right now. Anywhere she goes, anything she does gets turned into a absolute fucking circus. A la Michael Jackson. That's the only thing I can actually kind of conjure up from our time. Yeah. Remember when Michael Jackson was huge and Thriller, and he's going on the road with his brothers and it's massive, and he's like, you couldn't get away from Michael Jackson. It was like people were having like heart attacks and seizures in front of his hotel just trying to catch a glimpse of the guy. That's happening right now with Taylor Swift in the middle of my Super Bowl, in the middle of my football Sunday, and it drives me crazy. Yeah.
Well, and I legit am concerned for people's mental health with respect to this artist.
Yeah.
Someone who listens to this podcast, and I won't mention his name, spent an ungodly amount of time writing me pages and pages of explanation on why he's a fan of Taylor Swift. And he's 35-year-old, and literally I had to stop him. I'm like, dude, this is getting weird. I think you're weird, and I don't need a 7-page, you will never convince me that it makes sense. If you like something, I'd like things. And when other people like them or don't like them, I can go on with my day, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I like Led Zeppelin and you don't, for whatever reason, it's not going to kill me.
Well, if you don't like Led Zeppelin, you don't have any taste in music, and you're not losing out anything on that relationship with someone who doesn't like Led Zeppelin. That's my theory.
Yeah. The only time I make it personal is in with the case of Rush. Right? Like, I don't get the Rush thing. I never have. Yeah. See, right there. Led Zeppelin is overrated, and that's fine. I know.
I don't believe it. I don't believe Led
Positive
Zeppelin.
Mike has been living life with a massive head injury, and I hope he gets the help he needs. And I'm not. He also spelled Zeppelin
did you see? Listen, let me just I'm going to play a video for you. I have to play this video for you. It encapsulates the Taylor Swift mania in my mind, because she came into my house. I'm watching Sunday football. It's like an all-day event. Got to watch the Jets. You're watching the Jets and the Chiefs. And the Chiefs won 2012 or whatever. It was actually a pretty good game. I was excited for it. And this was at the start of the game. Like this is at the start of the game. And I want you to watch the people that are walking through it. Okay. I'm going to mute it. Taylor Swift and Blake Lively are first. There are 3 movie stars that will walk up behind them that are way more famous than those two, and nobody gave a single shit about them. It was like they might as well just be the driver and a security guy. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. No one said a word about those guys. Have a look at this. There you go. There's Tay-Tay and some jorts. There's Blake Lively and some fat guy. There's another really hot chick behind Blake Lively. And I want you to look at this. Oh, there's Ryan Reynolds and another famous guy. And oh, yeah, Hugh Jackman. Like,
very funny.
Like, seriously, it's bananas. Yeah. She's that huge. I don't get it.
Well, okay. So,
yeah,
you're even dancing around it. What's the deal
with her?
Is she clingy?
You want the truth?
Is she?
Do you want to know why I think Taylor Swift? This is a true story.
High maintenance?
Well, I mean, it's probably a gimme.
No, you're basing that
on a history,
on an opinion you
divides.
Have of women as a whole.
What is my opinion? Here's my opinion, and this is going to sound very misogynistic, but I think she's got a bad vagina.
I did not expect that.
I do. I think she's got a bad squash. I think something's bad going on.
What do you think? What do you think the issue is? Like, is it?
Well, that's just one of my theories. It's funny because now all the hatred comes forward. Like Kathleen, who I love, she's always in our comment section. She's like, "That's just dumb, Dean," and it might be. That's just my working opinion. I have some that are hypothetical, some not so hypothetical. The not so hypothetical one
is a working theory, Kathleen. We're discussing it.
We all play it. Like, we can fucking laugh all you like and say, "Oh yeah, he's just being shocking," like he's talking about Taylor Swift's privates. No, listen, we all play this game when we get together with somebody. This is what you pointed out, that the average relationship she has lasts around 3 years, or 3 months, not 3 years. She's had 18 boyfriends in 18 years. Blah, 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 blah. She's had 4 or 5. There's a little game we all play when we enter into a new relationship, right? Like, it's a new thing. It's a new arrangement. It's called genital roulette. How the game is played is this. You like someone, they like you. You think they're hot, they think you're hot. They might have it all on the stick. You're like, that person is super courageous, really funny. The conversation is great. I absolutely love it. And then you might make out, get to first base, second base. Boobs are good. She might rub your stuff. She's like, okay, you got some stuff down there. That's great. It's over the pants. Nobody really sees what's going on. You've got no real lens into the genital region until you actually see what's happening. Now,
okay.
The second you kick those pants off for the first time, and it's go time, it's like, I'm going to see your stuff, you're going to see my stuff. Yeah. There's a game called genital roulette. Now, for some of us that have played this game and lost, I have never lost from that side coming this way, ever in my life. I have lost going that way, meaning I have been with a significant other who I was really a big fan of, and you see them and you like it, you kiss it, and you're like, let's do it. And she's like, are you sure? And you're like, yeah, let's go. Let's have some fun. Let's see what happens. Let's break it off. Let's have some fun. Let's piece this off finally. Let's make it work, because I'm a dude. And there have been pants that have come off to the point where you're like, I'm going to need a medical dictionary to try and figure out what's happening there. And I don't think I can do this. So
see, I think you may be wrong here.
I might be.
You're basing this on personal experiences. I'm not trying to be
Edgy Dean. This guy's like, I miss the Edge Dean. No, the Edge Dean's gone. I'm not trying to be Edgy Dean. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to ascertain how a woman worth $1.3 billion who looks like that can't keep a boyfriend for longer than 3.5 months. This guy she dated before this, Pud, who's ruining my NFL Sundays. Last guy she dated was like, I don't know, some fucking real estate agent or something like that. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense in the world. And the only two solutions I arrive at is that she's wildly emotional to the point where she's like impossible to be around, which is highly probable, or terrible vagina. That's the only thing I can think of.
Listen, I think we got a situation here where it's worth saying out loud that not all men are going to be that's turned off by a bad, and I don't even know what
you don't know what I'm talking. You don't, dude. You've seen.
I'm not sure.
Women
I'm
put
not
up
sure.
with bad dicks all the time. We put up with bad vaginas sometimes too. I'm just a little more picky than the average guy, so that's where my mind.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that 18, 17 exes are all leaving Taylor Swift. And if hold on,
because
if it was a problem, maybe she
end of a pita.
Maybe she could get a little bit regenerative. Like if it was that bad, she'd maybe get it cleaned up or something. I don't know.
Dude, her last relationship was like 4 years or something like that. So maybe 4 years ago she had something. I don't know. This is all conjecture. I don't want the.
I don't think it's a bad. I don't think it's a bad vagina.
Saying anything about it because I don't want the Swifties getting mad at me because I'm more afraid of them than I am of like the Cosa Nostra. It's for real.
Here's what I think. I think let's take the bad vagina out of the equation. Maybe she's not. Maybe she's not great in bed. There could be. I think that's more probable that maybe
that's what Dom says in the comment section. Maybe she's a starfish, one of those.
So I don't think that could be it could be maybe a little bit of a sexual dysfunction thing, right? Maybe the
she
man
comes
that
from a religious
she's with,
background, and religious people are highly verklempt when it comes to that. So maybe that might be it.
That might be it. Yeah. I think maybe there is a I'll put high maintenance into the equation. I think that just based on what I've seen, and I have no clue whatsoever, she might be a highly emotional person, right? Maybe she's too good in bed.
Kathleen's
she scares away the men. That's a possibility.
If she's too good in bed, she's on one boyfriend for the rest of her life. Sorry.
I think also you got to I think maybe you got a situation. Yeah, Kathleen, if she's too good in bed, guys will put up with a lot.
If she's great in bed. Women put up with a lot who's great in bed too. It goes both ways. You look past meanness, you can look past all kinds of stuff. If the person you're doing does do good things to you and makes you go, ew, like that. Like, ew.
I got one more thing. I think men have insecurities around their position, right?
Yes.
Their position in their status in a relationship. And I think the men she's dating they're the type of guys that have the balls to go up to Taylor Swift and ask her out. Right? And
they're not intimidated by her bank account.
But after a while, they realize that she has way more power than they will ever have. And I think it's a lot for men to take. It's a big stroke to the ego. I think that is far more likely than bad vagina. But we can't take anything off the table when we're speculating.
No, dude, it's her bad vagina is on the table. Her power stroke is on the table.
Yeah,
high maintenance is on the table. It just doesn't make sense. It's sort of like when I see a really incredibly beautiful woman who's like 45, 50, never been married, doesn't have kids. Like my mind it doesn't go to like, hey, do you have an emotional illness that prevents you from being with somebody, or is there something going on with you? My mind goes to herpes all the time. It's like, oh, I got herpes. That's just me. That's same thing with dudes. Oh, you've never been married? No. Single? Yeah. Herpes, huh? You can't get past the doorstep of, listen, I've got some herpes, so I want to talk about it. No one wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about the herpes. You just stay away. And maybe that's the case too. Hey, dude, I haven't ruled herpes out. Haven't ruled it out. In which case,
that's a dance.
If she has herpes, she's going to have to be relegated to the NHL, dating guys in the NHL. That's the only sport that's totally cool with it, by the way.
There is a surprising number of people walking among us with herpes.
Isn't it incredible? What was the stat? Someone said it was like 70% of the world's population walks around with herpes and only like 20% know it. I'm like, I got tested after I read that. I ran to the doctor. I'm like, you got to test me for all the herpes because I don't want to be in the 7%. He goes, nah, you're clean. tested me. It's like 5-10 years ago. I'm like, nah, you're clean. It's like, oh, are you sure? I'm good. Like, I don't have any herpes. It's like, no.
So do men don't present as much?
I don't know. I didn't stick around to get details.
Yeah.
I just had them give me the clean bill of health, and I said I was gone. You get that? Yeah, but that's different. That's I meant like that's herpes, but it's not like herpes, right? There's herpes.
You know when
like you get herpes. Some people get herpes.
I don't get anything on. I got no sores on my dick. Yeah. And yeah, somebody brought up syphilis. We got a major syphilis problem
in Alberta.
Yeah, major.
Really?
Like we run ads about once or twice a year on the radio station about how much syphilis there is in Alberta. Yeah, apparently it's crazy. And I think it's one of the worst
breeding there too, right?
I think it's one of the worst provinces in the country, and it just keeps getting worse. I don't even know what syphilis is, to be honest with you. Is that like the clap?
Yeah, it is. Well, it's worse. Let me just read to you. This is from an Alberta teacher. Large pockets of syphilis in Alberta. Yeah. Dina Henshaw,
she's our minister of health. She gives like, syphilis warnings a couple times a year. I'm serious. I'm not even like, I know it's funny, but it's not even a joke. It's like when I got here years ago, I was like, why is there so much syphilis?
Yeah, there's a ton of syphilis. Yeah, Alberta is a hotbed of syphilis. Some of the prairie provinces are as well. As I just read, what is syphilis? Syphilis is an STD that gets messy, like really messy. If left untreated, causes health problems. Like Al Capone died of syphilis. And what happens is you just basically, your whole body rots over a period of time. Syphilis is not one of the fun things. You can get it from, well, I'm not going to read some of these at all. They actually gross me out when I have a look at them. Headaches, dizziness, primary swollen glands, ulcers, sores, canker sores in the lips, mouth, throat, or genital area, fever, patchy hair loss, swollen glands in the groin or neck, wart-like sores on different parts of your body, white wart-like sores. That's not fun. A rash, often included the palms, hands, and soles of the feet. Left untreated, it can fucking kill you, dude.
Yeah. Just maybe we're not eating enough oranges. It's a bad joke.
Speaking,
I know that syphilis and scurvy are not the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and like that's an old wives' tale. It's Mom would tell you, oh, you should eat oranges. No, you should just not have unprotected sex with dirty people and multiples. You just shouldn't go home with random.
I think the syphilis thing is a lot of camp life in Alberta. A lot of guys, right? They'll
oil patch.
You put them up in the oil patch, and they're doing like 2 weeks on, 1 week off. They go crazy at the in those small towns. And so lots of stuff spreading.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of syphilis, human syphilis is in court today in New York. Donald Trump. I want to get to that. You want to
go to Trump?
Something? Well, yeah, we have to, and then I want to get to WALI. Because we've got a fucking huge guest on Wednesday, by the way, like massive guest. But anyway, go ahead. What did you want to say before we?
No, I was just the one thing that I think is interesting about this conversation about Taylor Swift, about syphilis, about why maybe she goes through men so quickly. I think we are in very interesting times, and men specifically are not good at expressing or having conversations about relationship stuff. And I think that's changing a little bit. I'm starting to see men becoming a little bit more honest about their troubles with relationships and dating and the world that we live in. And do you go on Tinder? And I've just seen a little bit of movement in that regard. And I think the Me Too generation, like that sort of thing that we went through.
Yeah.
The pendulum swung really hard that way. That was a good thing. But I think we're sort of coming back a little bit to a point where we can now have a little bit more open conversations, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad thing, especially when you take into consideration men sharing how they feel about the difficulty of finding someone to spend time with. And I'm not just talking about I'm talking about just
incels
being friends with a woman.
You're talking about
right?
incels right now. You're talking about men that are upset that they can't find a woman. Those are incels.
Well, no, I think men are just starting to become a little bit more honest about how hard it is to date in the last 5 years, right?
Yeah, what, because of syphilis or because they're losers?
No, because it's difficult to date, Dean.
It really isn't that difficult to date. No.
Well, we probably have the wrong jumping off point.
No, you're giving all these young guys credit. No. It's not that difficult to date. You walk up to somebody, you tell them, you say hi, you introduce yourself, you put your best foot forward, you ask if they want to go on a date. It's difficult to date if you don't want to date and if you don't have the confidence to actually go up and talk to a female. That's different. Those are called incels. That's what you're talking about, I think.
No, I think there is realistically
sad people.
There's realistic issues with dating in the world that we live in right now. And maybe you are not seeing it because of how you're wired.
Because I'm awesome.
Right? But I think there are a lot of men out there that have trouble making a connection with the opposite sex. I do.
Not my problem.
We can move on.
I'm not here to help those people. I'm not. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of like being the voice of reason. Like if you don't have game and you don't want to go and talk to somebody, it's not my problem. And don't come here looking for like help from us or sympathy from guys like Locke and I who are either locked down,
totally have sympathy.
Don't worry about it.
I have zero game.
It's not the girl's fault that she doesn't want to pay attention to a dude. That's a whole incel conversation. Do I feel sorry for those people? Fuck no. I swim in the same ocean as them, right? Every single one of those guys. I don't care. If you can't get laid, that is your problem, not mine. And if you're going to complain about it and run to Jordan Peterson's YouTube channel and try and figure out a way to get laid, that Smurf's not going to be helping you anytime soon. So go to a Toastmasters club. I don't know. Become an alcoholic. Those guys have zero ability to reason and they don't give a shit. They'll say anything to anybody. That's the best part of booze. You can just go up to somebody and go, hey, I think you're hot. And you'd never do that when you were sober. That's the best way to not be an incel. Become an alcoholic. Well, you're welcome.
We're really, really educating people today.
I feel like we've done a great job. Can we move on to Donald Trump? I want to move on.
Yes. I shouldn't have taken a side. It was a weird jumping off.
But you can't help it.
You can't jump off from syphilis, right? To men having problems in the dating world. Well, no, right.
Kathleen's like, that's really bad dating advice, guys. Yeah, Kathleen, I'm not here to give dating. I'm not here to help those guys. Of course,
Kathleen, I was trying. I was trying to have a reasonable conversation about the world that we live in. Men and women have trouble in the world that we live in dating because of lots of things that have gone wrong. And 100%. Your lack of sympathy and that jacket that you're wearing right now. I should never have thought that we were going to get a reasonable conversation when you put that jacket on. You wearing
that jacket? Well, this is the most reasonable conversation I feel we have. I feel like you're actually the smart person today and I'm the dumb person. I feel like we've switched roles. You're like trying to be authentic and you're trying to help people. And I'm at the point
I don't know what you're talking about. When I show up daily, I am the smart one.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Trump's trial started today. You watch. This is, of course, the 200.
He was there in person too. Yeah. Which is awesome. Why do I love this so much?
This is the New York State trial where he's been accused of like tax evasion, like to the tune of like $1 to $2 billion. It's set at 250 because that's 250 million. That's the actual fine that they're asking him to pay. So that fine they're saying is worth 250 million. But his trial today, Letitia James, who's the AG of New York, she put him on trial. He is on trial. There was a picture of him in a blue suit. And then I don't even want to play the video or the audio because it's a pain in the ass. And I'm so sick of that fucking loser's voice where him in a blue suit. And he's like, I can't believe this is happening to me. I got charged with like 135,000 different things. And it's all a witch hunt. And I sat there going to myself, wow, he's still doing it. He's like, and then he said, this needs to stop for America. This is prior to him going into the courtroom and sitting there and being just an ex-president on trial for tax evasion and money laundering. But the stakes, did you hear what he's going to fucking lose? Did you go through the actual litany of things that they are going to take away from him?
So I did see a little bit. one of the stories that I read or heard was that his house, or not his house, the Trump Hotel in New York is on the list of things that they may take away from him because of the money he owes.
Yeah.
And so that was the big one. Like, that's the big ticket item.
Uh-huh.
And then the other thing that I found interesting was that they're going to ban him from doing business in the state of New York, which that's pretty fucking huge, isn't it?
Well, it's huge because it reaches into every other state that his business in New York does business with any of his businesses outside of the state, right? So anybody that does business or did business with him in New York is going to get it, and they're going to prevent him from ever doing business in New York. So from Axios, the trial is one of several, of course, he's expected to face before the election. He will lose control over all of his flagship real estate properties. So here are the short strokes. His two oldest kids are also listed as defendants. Ivanka is listed as a witness. Trump's a Florida resident. He's going to lose the ability to do business in his former state completely. And unlike the criminal cases he's entangled in, he doesn't risk any prison time, but this is going to determine his liability for all the damages. The lawsuit alleges that he misled the valuation of his assets and net worth, that Trump and people working for him make false entries into business records, actually inflating the value of his stuff by billions of dollars, therefore being able to, and then deflating it by billions so he wouldn't have to pay taxes. So he could borrow against it, wouldn't have to pay the taxes. So there's your tax evasion. There's your money laundering. Two of his former sons are actually in deep shit. They're defendants as well, part of the Trump org. Donald Jr., Coke fiend, and Eric Trump, the guy that looks like a burn victim. Alan Weisselberg, his former accountant. I don't know, some former controller of it. And the prosecutors are seeking, and this is to your point, a fine of up to $250 million. The attorney general wants to bar him and members if she's successful from serving as officer or directors of businesses at all registered in New York. She also wants all of his properties.
The state.
Yeah, everything, all of his properties to satisfy that $250 million debt, including Trump Tower, 4 through 6, East 57th Street, Trump Park Avenue as well. And everybody, and I mean everybody in his family, is on the docket. And there's a judge actually that's presiding over the docket. His big boner is being a real estate activist, meaning like he's the guy that shows up anytime they want to build a condo in green space because he likes to fight against real estate developers. So he's fucked. Like he will not be allowed to do business in New York, conduct meetings in New York, register a company in New York, take money or give money in New York. Like they're taking everything away from him before he even gets to answer for any of the other shit he did. They're just taking all of his money and his shit. All of it. And that happened today. And he looked like a fucking loser on trial.
It was interesting. I heard his little speech outside of the whatchamacallit. The courthouse before he went in. And he's always had this bravado, right? Like, I mean, it's Trump. He's kind of got this energy about him where he doesn't care about what's happening. That's fading a bit. I saw that. Did you see that?
Like the energy he had to be able to like
arrogance,
fight. Like, yeah, like there was no fight in the guy. Like he just seemed like he was really kind of fucking beaten, demure, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
I think I think it's worrying him. I think this one's scaring him big time. You know, and you know what the thing is, I am so sick of the Trump conversation. I still don't think he's going to go to jail. I find it interesting that they rushed this one. Like, why this one? It's funny too, because what I think is happening in the States is,
don't tell me, are you seriously starting to think that there's a conspiracy against Donald Trump?
No, God.
Is that what I'm getting by your tone?
No, I think he's a criminal, and I think that when you have money in the States, you can get away with stuff. And,
totally.
and I think their legal system is completely fucked. I found it wildly ironic that the DA, her speech was all about how it doesn't matter how much money you have, we're going to bring you to justice. Well, it totally does in the United States. We've watched it for years.
Yeah.
If you have money, you get away with shit that the rest of the world doesn't get away with. There's people serving 25-year sentences for having an ounce of weed in the back of their car, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this guy is free. And like, you just explained what he did. It's fraud.
Tons of it. Like billions of dollars worth of fraud.
Just this case is fraud, and he's screwing the IRS. Like, look what they've done to people. If you fuck with your taxes down there, they
cut your balls off and put them in a jar and send them to your kids.
So I don't understand why they seem to think that.
Well, he's like all this stuff was in plain sight. To your point, he skated on this stuff for a long period of time. And why are they going after him now? Well, because he's a huge cock. Like, and he tried to fucking bust up the United States. And I think
that's a big part of it. I don't think there's a conspiracy theory. I don't believe in that, but I do believe there's a lot of energy behind the scenes to take him down because of how much of a cock he is. I think totally. There's you know what, it's kind of a sports analogy, right?
And how much of a cock he's been his whole life. Like, if you don't think he's pissed off maybe 75-80% of the legal establishment in New York.
People in New York fucking hate him. They hate him. And
with a passion.
Whenever I saw like anybody from New York speaking in public about Trump when he was running the last time and this time, they're apoplectic. They're so mad at him. They can't stand, like, they yell at him when he walks through the streets of New York. Like,
he was in hiding in New York. He never left
him.
Like, yeah, dude, like he knows where he sucks. He knows that he's in deep shit. He knows he's in trouble. He knows people.
Michael Rappaport. Have you seen him?
Michael Rappaport.
His whole life is dedicated to Trump and shitting on Trump.
And MTG.
Robert De Niro.
Can't do it.
Robert De Niro is one of the most angry voices in politics in the States. And I would love to see the two of them in a room, because I think Robert De Niro would go after him. I think he would jump on Trump and try to kick the shit out of him.
I'd love to see that.
That's like his level of anger.
If he spends a night out in New York, like, that's what's going to happen. You're going to see some well-heeled, like, fucking actor, super famous, like, crazy old guy who's like, fuck it, I'm 80. I'm going to go pop that guy right in the face. That's what I want to see. That's what I would like to see, him walk out with a shiner. By the way, I want to play this video. So this is the only time cameras were allowed in the courtroom this morning, because cameras are not allowed in the courtroom.
Just at the beginning, right?
Yeah. This is at the beginning.
Yeah.
I want you the judge in the case. Do you think he's excited to try Donald Trump? I want you to check out Trump's face. I'll put this on audio off so you can have a look at it. Check out Trump's face at the start of this. By the way, you can watch everything we do at Crier on YouTube, Dean Blundell Show on YouTube. So, listener, if you would like to see the sad sack Donald Trump sit there like a giant fucking infected vagina, there he is, number one. Number two, look at the judge in this case. He is excited to fuck Donald Trump up. Watch this. This is so good. Look at this. There's Donald Trump. Looks fucking miserable, not happy, brave face. Look at the judge. Pan over the judge. Look at him. He's like, oh, hi. Oh, hi, everybody. Nice to see you.
Oh, my God. That's funny. That's funny.
Tell me that's not going to be a terrible sign. Like, looking at that visual of him smiling, laughing, like, hey, this is a story of a lifetime. Here I am prosecuting the biggest asshole in the history of this state for tax evasion. And by the way, there's no jury trial. Did you hear about that? He gets to decide. A housing and climate change activist gets to decide Donald Trump's future when it comes to tax evasion to the tune of $1.5 billion in stolen funds from the city of New York, or the state of New York. He gets to decide. You know how fucking apropos this is? He's being literally taken to task by a woman of color named Letitia James, who's just not going to give up. And he is being fed his legal future, where he's going to have everything taken away from him by a housing and climate activist.
You know what though? I do need to I do need to say this out loud, and I've been saying this out loud to people in my life that I know, that I know well, and I know casually. I think everybody needs to be very realistic about what's going to happen with Donald Trump, because there's too many people, and you're kind of one of them. You're in this boat, Dean, that for some reason really need Donald Trump to go to jail and go down for all this. And I hate to say it. I just do not. I don't trust the way they do things down there. It is so corrupt, and I was wading into the waters about that fact, and it not from a conspiracy perspective, but the one thing that Donald Trump has completely solidified for me is that the United States of America is so beyond help. It's not even funny. Like, it is so bad down there that you have 45% of the population that thinks that guy should be is a good leader, should be the next leader of the.
Well, and they don't care about any of this stuff. Like, how many videos have you seen online? And it just goes we have it up here too with anybody that thinks that guy like Pierre Poilievre you could go to jail. Your guy committed fraud. He sold state secrets to the Egyptian government. What do you think? The guy's like, fuck that. I'd still vote for him.
It's unbelievable.
It's fucking crazy.
It is. And I just don't trust the system down there enough that, I find it interesting that it seems like the walls are closing in on him, but I'm still not even there with the thought that he'll ever spend 1 minute in a jumpsuit in jail. Do you know that rant he put together this morning? Did you see that rant that Trump put together today? No, I saw the speech on the courthouse before he went in. Then that's the one where I was saying he seemed a little bit subdued, and his ego seems to be taking a little bit.
Yeah. The rant itself sounded like he was marshaling a whole bunch of people to fight on his behalf, to fight this woman, to fight the judge, to fight, saying basically stuff like, America won't stand for it. And what he's saying is, I need your help because I'm fucked. And he dog whistles back to his base, right? We see that in politics all the time. It's like, hey, my people won't stay. They're going to go crazy if I get convicted. This is awful. This is
that's a legitimate concern that they have in the United States.
It is, but it isn't. It is because I don't think the amount of people that we're talking about, the polls are bullshit. We've known that for a long period of time. Polls are not really polls. They don't really indicate anything other than how people feel and how you can game the algorithm of whatever poll someone puts out. That's just all we see today. Nothing is real. The things you see in terms of projections, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's not real. Like the projections that Hillary Clinton would have been the next president of the United States in 2016. That never happened, right? And who knows why, but you don't see the same support that you see for this guy. You don't see the same energy you see for this guy, to your point, because he knows he's in shit, right? That's why he makes these weird fucking statements in courthouses that are literally threatening the judge in these cases. And if anybody else threatened the judge, it'd be fucked. They would have been gag ordered.
That's what I'm saying.
They would have been thrown in jail. And so to your point, you're probably right. We might not see anything that I want to see, which is frog marched, no longer allowed to use hair dye because he's prisoner number 69, 69, 69. He's wearing a orange jumpsuit, and that's his future. That's what I want to see. Legitimately want to see that. But I highly doubt we will too, to your point, because he motors by every other threat.
It's unbelievable.
Every other person is subjected to, right? Which is, don't say anything about the witness, because if you say something about the witness or the judge, that's considered tampering. But this isn't a jury trial. So the judge in this case can do whatever the fuck he wants, which is very exciting.
He basically admitted the case in Georgia. He was on national television. He sunk his entire defense because the reporter knew that if they asked the questions that they asked, that his ego would be, he would be unwilling or unable to answer it any other way.
Yeah.
And he legit admitted that his entire motivation for January 6th was to overthrow an election.
Because he didn't like it.
He admitted
he
it
lost.
on national television.
Yeah.
And anybody else, like they're putting people that were part of the January in jail for years. You're just being there on Capitol Hill that day and being part of the organization. They're throwing the book at these people. And Trump
is threatening them verbally on the steps of a fucking courthouse. It's awesome.
It is so screwed up down there. And I try not to think about it because you know how I'm wired.
You hate unfair.
When there's imbalance in the world, I can't handle it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the imbalance is starting to correct itself because all the stars are aligning when it comes to his prosecution with this. As you pointed out, he indemnified himself during the Georgia thing in that interview with that lady where he's like, yeah, fuck, I totally did it. I'm like, oh my God. You finally.
Well, then they play this stuff. They play it over and over and over again on clips on TV and social media where he admits to doing the crime that he is in court for currently and will be standing trial for. He says the things that every lawyer on the planet would go, shut up. What do you just admitted it. You just killed my entire defense on ABC News. You just destroyed it. And he'll get away with it somehow. It doesn't make any sense, Dean.
It doesn't make any sense, but it's awesome to watch at the same time because most people would have just collapsed by now, and you're seeing him collapse. Like, as you point out, he's running out of energy in these clips. He's like, yeah, fuck, whatever. And some of the clips.
It was marginal. I noticed he just didn't seem as vocal as I thought he would. He still sounds like a complete narcissistic, dick up there, right?
Yeah, I like him though. I hate him, but I like him. Like, part of me respects the game. Part of me respects the fact that he's the only person in the world who's ever been able to do this. And if you've been around as long as we have, where you remember Donald Trump being that fucking joke when he was younger, like he was just this business guy who, like, he ran for president probably 4 or 5 times before this, right? And you're just always one of those guys where it's like, oh yeah, that's cute, just some TV guy.
Letterman used to have him on.
Yeah. Letterman used to have him on. He was entertaining. He was just a fucking entertaining weirdo who liked to tell people he was better than he was, and everybody mocked him and everybody hated him. And 2016, he becomes a president, and you're like, well, we're gonna find everything out now. Like, how did he dodge $4 billion in bankruptcy like 3 times? How did he do? Now we're seeing it. He's just a fucking mess. He's just a criminal. Like everybody else at that level who is that much of a criminal, they're so entrenched, and everybody that they talk to and everybody they've touched in their 70-year history, they might get in trouble too. So, like, you've got a lot of people rooting for him that you normally wouldn't think would root for him because of how many people he knows things about, or people he's done business with who don't want to get wrapped up in this stuff. Like, that's why you don't see the prosecution of really important people sometimes, is because of who they're connected to and who they're holding money for and how that whole fucking thing works, dude. We know that. Same thing with Canada. It's like, if you could find like a super rich dude here in Canada, you know how many fucking people I talk to that are like, how is Justin Trudeau worth $50 million? I'm like, I'd like to know. How is Pierre Poilievre worth $12 million? I'm like, I'd like to know, because the guy's never had a job. That's why these guys don't rat on each other. That's why they don't go whole hog and talk about each one's criminality, because they're all, to some extent, all fucking criminals. And that's what we're seeing here, just on such a massive scale that no one's talking about that part of it, which is like, what about all the other relationships in that orbit, like Epstein? Like, that's why we don't know anything about Jeffrey Epstein, right? Because you start pulling on the Epstein thread, you start pulling on the Trump thread, you're going to pull some people out of there who you thought were good people, and good Bill people Gates are in power. They're fucking gangsters. Exactly.
I was listening to, I found all the Parts Unknown Anthony Bourdain shows. I found them on Spotify. So if you go and you search that, they took them and they just did they just took the audio and put them on, and they're pretty good. So I've been listening to them, and I was a big fan of Anthony Bourdain's and that show. And I'm not even a cook, but I always loved the show because it was more than just a cooking show. Like it was a travel show, and he went places that nobody else went, and he did things and experienced things.
That was the life, right? Like he would like also be vulnerable. But the last time he was here, he was on like Nazi crank, like that kind of stuff.
He is an interesting guy, and I think a real surprisingly after the fact, after passing away, and how that all came about. I think he was a very sensitive soul too. But I've been listening to it, and there was one where he was in Detroit, and he meets with this political analyst and writer and somebody who has lived in Detroit his whole life. And they were just talking about the corruption in politics in Detroit as a whole. And Anthony says to him, "Why have you never run?" And he goes, "Oh, no, I'm not a criminal." He goes, "The only people that get into politics are criminals."
Yeah,
you have to be wired. You have to be a sociopath to get into politics in 100%. The States. And Anthony's like, "What?" And he goes, No. Everybody that gets into politics gets into it because they can morally separate what's right and wrong. There's nobody in politics. This is his statement. This thing's quite old, but I don't think he's wrong. And I think we've got a dose of that in Canada now. I honestly think
we've always had it.
I think our politics, not to the extent in Canada that it is in the States, but I think our political system, and people talk about the end of democracy, and man, I'm telling you right now, they're trying to keep the perception of democracy alive for the stability of society. And there are people behind the scenes desperately propping it up. And I believe that we're on the verge of a major, major crash politically in North America. And I think it's going to be like very destructive. And the problem is when you say things like that, you get put into a camp right away. People crazy immediately assume that you're right, that I've got flags on my car and that I'm off to Ottawa for the next convoy. And I'm not. I believe that we're in trouble because I think the only reason people get into politics is they're not trying to help you. It's for money. And that's across the board. I don't care what stripes you are. Decisions are made behind the scenes politically. There's no climate. They don't give a fuck about our healthcare system. They don't give a fuck about our climate. None of these people do.
Very few.
All they care about is money.
Dude, you know what they care about in Canada and the United States? Like you talk to any politician, I know lots of them. I'm out with them all the time. Oh, are we still streaming? You still got me?
I still got you. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're good. I don't hang around with anybody. I used to, and they will tell you every single time that you talk to them in like a private moment, why do you love being a politician? What do you like about it? Because I've had conversations prior to me actually realizing they're all criminals, basically, and like unmotivated people that have ran the fucking clock out on their day jobs and they have to move over to something that's a lot easier and they can get some help and they get free money and they get free cars and the gig is so fucking incredible. Nobody wants to give it up. And you don't really do a lot other than show up and cut ribbons, shake hands, kiss babies, have to sit in meetings. You got to be, vote with the group on certain things so you can get stuff done. But really these people are just, plants for businesses. Like these political parties that we serve are businesses. They're not like nonprofit groups that are here to marshal in the golden age of citizenry in this country or that country. No, fuck, dude. They are literally the front-facing relationships of a whole bunch of executive relationships and people in industry that get behind those parties and those people for, to your point, so they can steal from us. You can take your shit, make you feel bad about yourself for not giving it to them or standing up for yourself. Like, that's legitimately all politics is. And had it not been for the age of the internet, independent media, and I really believe this, we'd still think they were good folks.
Yeah,
none of them are.
And the thing is, too, if you do have even an ounce of integrity and your attempt is somewhat virtuous when you get into politics, they will sniff you out and bury your ass.
Oh, yeah. We can't have anybody for themselves.
And this guy on this Anthony Bourdain Detroit podcast, Parts Unknown, he said that. He said, good people do not last long in politics.
Yeah.
They get chewed up and spit out. Not his words, but essentially that's what he was saying. So the only ones that last, that make their way through the trenches and end up in positions, higher and higher, are basically people that have bad intentions and are supported by the overall machine behind it.
100%.
And so they're going to push those people forward. Right. And so they got handed a superstar in the States. Donald Trump was like, look at him. He's already a criminal. He already gets it. So just like shove him to the front of the line.
Oh, yeah. And that's when the
him.
power vacuum comes behind him, and all the foreign governments are like, that guy will do anything for $1 million. Just fucking make him, get him up there. Get him going.
This guy's perfect. We let him run the Republican Party.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
And it's sad. And the funny thing is that we sound like the group that we made fun of for 2 years during COVID.
Totally. Whiners.
Because we've completely bought in to the conspiracy theory of
that all politicians
politics
are crooked as fuck, dude. To the point where all my haters on the vaccine side, fan of vaccines, by the way, don't care to talk about it right now. All my haters on the vaccine side, like, I've read some pretty fucking nauseous stuff about the way Pfizer tried to get people to buy the vaccines. Like, seriously, they're not wrong about the criminality of fucking big pharma. None of them. But for 3 years, I wasn't about to go, yeah, you might be right.
Well, no, and we even touched on that a couple of times where we're like, trust me when we. Right about the did you see my tweet earlier?
No, I don't look at your Twitter account. I should. But I don't very often.
So the
Twitter's all fucked up. Everybody I follow, I don't never see anything from anybody I follow. I should just unfollow everybody and watch what Elon puts in my timeline. Seriously.
Scientists who spurred development of the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines win Nobel Medicine Prize. And I said, look at that. Now they have something in common with the creators of ivermectin. Listen, it's not getting a lot of love. I've got 3 likes, but I don't care. I couldn't help myself.
You're in Alberta, right? So, like, nobody likes that tweet. Anytime you bring up ivermectin, it's a very, very serious issue. Yeah, did you see that? The Nobel Prize went to the woman and the man who finally figured out a way to get mRNA vaccines, mRNA technology into vaccinology so that we could all be healthy.
And make the board of directors at Pfizer billions of dollars.
Yeah. I didn't take a swipe off her today, but I got an email from one of our clients, and he's like, you guys should talk about this on your show. And I'm like, yeah, we should. But every time I talk about vaccines, you know what happens? My Twitter account becomes like a sewer for like 48 hours. So, I'm just going to try and stay away from that. But you're right. Congratulations to this woman, Karolin Kalinka. I think her name was Katalin Kalinka.
Yeah, you're close.
Korlaka. Mike Moustakas. I don't know who it is. Anyway, nice lady.
She's an interesting story, actually.
Yeah, she is.
She'd been working on before COVID for years. She had spent a number of years on this vaccine, right? And then they realized she was doing it pretty much in a vacuum, in a bubble. And then they realized the potential of it in combating COVID when COVID hit. And then they just they ignited a fire underneath of her with funds and money and that kind of stuff. And then away it went, right? But it's interesting. She could have spent, without COVID, she could have spent her whole life working on this with no funding, no money, right? And then, right, all of a sudden, boom, it's really needed, and then it's a whole different story.
Yeah. Her name is Catalin Carrico and Drew Weissman. They were the recipients of the 2023 Nobel Prize in Medicine. RNA pioneers whose years of scientific partnership unlocked an understanding of how to modify our mRNA became the winners of the Nobel Prize this week for physiology and medicine. Yeah. They each got a whole bunch of money too.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you know who complained was that Robert Malone guy, the anti-vax dude that's running around going, I invented it. Remember that guy? He was like, I invented it. It's not safe, which he never invented it, and it is safe. And he's like tweeting, is like, that should be mine. I started dying and laughing.
What an idiot. Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for us.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was a good
we do need to tease WALI. Tell everybody who WALI is.
WALI is the greatest sniper in the history of sniping. You may have heard of him. WALI.
Is he? Canadian, and he's sniper. Canadian.
He's Canadian, former JTF member. He is
quite famous worldwide.
What's that?
He's famous.
Super famous. WALI is like, he did an interview in Forbes magazine the other day. I get a call from Aid Day Rebeckoff, our guy in European, right? Alex. And he's like, hey, I got WALI. He wants to come on your show. And I'm like, no shit. Where is he? In a foxhole in Donbass? And he's like, no, he's in Canada. So he's back in Canada. He's done tours over there. I spent an hour on the phone with this guy today, just doing a prep chat. Like, I love talking to people before I have them on to talk about what we're going to talk about. So I took notes. Not going to tell you anything about the notes. He's one of the most dangerous people in the world from 2 kilometers. Like, you'll just die when he's around. You won't even, and he'll just go, dick. But his story and how he looks at warfare and what he thinks is really going on in Ukraine is fucking amazing.
Leave it at that.
Unbelievable.
Let's leave it at that. I love that. That's a great tease.
Wednesday, WALI, world famous sniper who went over.
Can I be on that one?
Almost died several times. Like, those are the stories that'll blow your mind. To go and fight for the Ukrainian people, right? Yeah. To go over there and help out, and the situations he found himself in. The awareness that this guy has to have being a sniper, how difficult that job is, and how he looks at that job like you and I look like at any job, where you and I would put giant shits in our pants. That's just another job for him. It was absolutely a stunning conversation. We're going to talk with him on Wednesday right here. So if you go to Crier Media YouTube, Dean Blundell Show YouTube, at Lachlan Cross on Twitter, anywhere you get your fine podcast, Dean Blundell Show podcast, go download and sub. We'd really, really appreciate that, because on Wednesday we're going to have a great interview with WALI.
Can I be on that one?
One-man wreck. Of course, dude. I was just assuming you were going to be there. 4 p.m.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. So read up on this guy. Watch some interviews too, because and there's a great article with him in Forbes. Forbes just wrote an article about him with
him. When did that come out?
What's that? Last week.
The Forbes thing? Okay, I'll go find that.
WALI, WALI is his name. I don't even know the dude's real name. And his day job, by the way, IT.
I can see that.
Anyway, thanks for doing this, dude. Great to see you.
Yeah, that was a good one today, bud. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for chopping it up. We'll talk to you soon. At Lachlan Cross on Twitter is where you can find him, 957cruisefm.ca. Listen to him every single weekday morning, host of The Locker Room. As you can see, it's on his hat. He's gone now. Thanks to everybody for being a part of the show, too. Thank you all for spending some time with us today. It's been a rough one. What I would love for you to do is join us at crier.co, go to the shop and buy some merch. Really appreciate it. We got water bottles. We've got a Stupid People Equals the new pandemic t-shirts. You got the hats. You got everything. If you go there, you're supporting independent media, so you can get a free shirt and know that you're supporting us, which we greatly appreciate. Go to crier.co, head to the shop, purchase our Stupid People line. We'd really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. We've also got the Schadenfreude season shirts up there. You can get some Crier gift cards. You can get some Crier merch. You can get some water bottles. You can get all kinds of stuff. But if you go to crier.co, go to the shop, we'd really appreciate it. And if you go and sub and download the podcast anywhere you get it, rate and subscribe and review, we'd really appreciate that as well. It's all part of the deal. And I'm not very diligent when it comes to that kind of stuff. So we'd really appreciate your support. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. And as always, thanks to Lachlan for joining us. Thanks to our friends and sponsors at CanTorque. They make the most rugged, hardworking torque wrenches in the world, manufactured in Edmonton. CanTorque.com. That is your email address. Check them out today. Railroad, heavy machinery, nuclear. If you need a bolting solution, can't find one, they'll make one for you. They'll service that for you. They'll engineer it for you. These guys are ninjas at what they do, and they do everything here in Canada, ship it around the world. Doesn't matter if it's big oil, doesn't matter if it's forestry, heavy machinery, again, nuclear. If you've got a bolting solution, you got a loosener and fastener that you need a solution for, these guys have it for you. It's called the Torque Wrench, and they're the best in the world at making them. Go to cantorque.com today for more information. As always, brought to you by our friends at Gitch, makers of luxury branded boxer briefs, pouch at the front. You'll love these things. GITCH3. That is your promo code. Go to edsfineimports.com. Check it out there. And what you'll do is you'll order 3 pair, and he'll send you a free pair with that code. That's right. You get 4 free. Super easy. If it's free, it's for me. That's what I love to say as well. edsfineimports.com. Promo code GITCH3. Brought to you by our friends at Gitch. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thanks all for being part of the show. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you'll come back and join us next time. Don't forget to rate and review anywhere the Dean Blundell Show or Crier Media are. Go to crier.co for all our details today. Have a wonderful day. I think I already told you to have a wonderful day like 8 times. 9's not bad. Have a great day. We'll see you Wednesday with WALI. Bye.